Today, I'm going to answer your questions about my Inside Edition investigations. Let's get to it. This is from Twitter, @Neil O'Donnell. Which of your early investigations helped you realize that being an investigator was your calling? So many of them. I did an investigation quite early on that started out, this is what happens sometimes in journalism. You start doing a story on one subject, and as you unearth information, the story becomes much bigger and changes direction. One of the first investigations I did, we thought was just going to be a consumer report about air duct cleaners. So these are guys that go to your house, they clean your air ducts, and they say it's going to cost you $75, and by the time they get there, they realize you've got mold in your house, and suddenly you're doling out hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. Okay, that's what's called a consumer scam, and we investigate a lot of those. So we were doing a story about air duct cleaning scams, and what happened is we found out that this company was teaching its workers that come to your house how to rip you off. And we were able to send one of our producers undercover as a technician to go through the training with a hidden camera so that he could pick up all of these lies they were teaching them to say to homeowners. Isn't that amazing? And then I posed as a homeowner. And I had glasses on, and I had my hair up. I was basically in disguise, and I pretended I was a homeowner. We had hidden cameras all over the house, and we saw how they were trying to rip me off. Believe it or not, the owner of that company was also a registered sex offender, and he wasn't supposed to be doing any business in that state. So when we found out more and more and more about him and about his company, we decided to follow where he was going and what his business practices were. We ended up in another state. I ended up confronting his business partner, who at first claimed that he didn't do any business with him at all. Little did he know that that technician, our undercover producer, had on hidden camera him and the pedophile together teaching the technicians how to rip off people. That became a huge story. And that was the reason that I won my first place National Headliner Award. And since then, I've won, I think, a dozen National Headliner Awards, but that was my very first one. And I was really proud of that story. That producer and I work together still. I have 3 producers. That producer is Larry Posner. And as soon as we shot the last part of that story, we knew it was going to win an award. We knew we were onto something big. I'm really proud of that story. I want to say something else. I have 3 producers, and I work with all 3 of these producers all over the country. Larry Posner, Charlie McElravy, and Josh Bernstein. And we all work together along with our amazing photojournalist, Phil Capsa, to chase down the bad guys and to bring you these amazing investigations for Inside Edition. We have senior producer, Bob Reed, and our executive producer, Charles Lockman, who gave me the opportunity to do this. It's just been an amazing journey. And here I am 10 years later, still chasing bad guys for Inside Edition. Next question. From Facebook, Simeon H. Diaz. Did they ever catch that guy who hit you with the car? Okay, here's the story. That investigation was about a dentist. He was a little bit older man. I'll just say it. He was an old dude. He was accused of hurting the children that went to him in his practice. What he would do is he was accused of doing extra dental work and not giving them the sedatives that they needed and performing these procedures on these children that could feel it. He would wrap them into a papoose board so they couldn't move, and he would pull their teeth and do all these horrible things so they'd be screaming because they could feel it. And so he had been accused of doing this and ripping off Medicaid. A lot of these victims were minority kids. A lot of them were Latino. Their parents only spoke Spanish, and English wasn't their first language, and they were getting ripped off. They were really scared of this dentist. So we investigated him, and he didn't like the fact that we were doing this investigation. Even though he said he wasn't going to be interviewed on camera, we followed him to a McDonald's in Arizona. I was peppering him with questions as he was coming out of the McDonald's, and he got into his car. And then, as I often do, I went around to the window, or I thought I was going to go around to the driver's side window to knock and to ask him one last question, which you see me do all the time on Inside Edition, because he was pulling out of the parking spot, and we thought he was going to then continue off. Instead, he pointed the car at me and drilled me He actually hit me. I saw the car coming, so I kind of jumped, but he got me in the hip. And you can see in slow motion that I got hit, my hair's going crazy, but I held on to the microphone. So at the end of the day, what we decided was this. I could have pressed charges against him. He assaulted me. He hit me with his car intentionally. If I would have pressed charges, then that would have meant that I couldn't do the story, that we'd have to drop the story. All of these parents and victims depended on us to tell their story. If I would have made the story about me, and if I would have gotten involved, then I would no longer have been an unbiased journalist, right? Because then I have skin in the game, because then I'm suing him, and then we can't do the story. So we decided in the end that if it came down to that, I was not going to press charges, and we ended up airing the story. So I think we made the right decision. I was bruised for a while, and I'm really lucky. Honestly, had I not jumped, I could have been seriously injured or even killed, and my cameraman was right behind me. It was one of the most shocking things that has ever happened to me on Inside Edition, and it hurt. But in the end, I'm glad I didn't press charges because those parents did get justice. Last question. Better be a good one. Okay, this is from Facebook. Patrick C. Mackin. What's the funniest thing anyone has ever said during an interview? Oh, there have been many funny things. And you know what's strange is a lot of our interviews, you call them confrontations, I call them unscheduled interviews. A lot of those interviews go south really fast. You've seen them on Inside Edition where people chase down the camera. They try to like push the camera. They try to push me. They'll run away. I'll chase them and I'll be screaming questions at them as we're running. That in itself is kind of funny. But in terms of funny things people have said, we were undercover. I did a story where we were trying to point out how easy it is to be a trainer. Okay, you can take a class and study for a couple of days and become a certified trainer in some states. I have no business being a trainer. I don't know anything about it, but I took a class and I passed the class in New York State. So I had a certification that said I could be a trainer. So we went undercover to see if anybody would hire me at a gym. And I was honest with them. I said, I've never been a trainer. I've never trained anybody, but I just passed this test and I have a certification. Believe it or not, I got some job offers. But in order to go undercover and to be in disguise, I wore a blonde wig. So I looked like a real housewife of Orange County. We thought we were so clever. Like, nobody will recognize me. Literally, I'm in a blonde wig. I go in for one of my interviews, and of course, I'm interviewing him undercover because we've got it on hidden camera. And the guy looks at me and goes, "Are you Lisa Guerrero?" All of that work. We thought we were so clever with the wig. He recognized me. He was a big sports fan, I guess. That was really funny. He kind of turned the tables on me. Great questions, everybody. I love them. Keep them coming. Leave your questions below because we're going to do this again soon. And again, I'm going to give you a shout out on Instagram or Twitter or wherever you're sending me your questions from. Thank you so much. Be sure to subscribe to Lisa Guerrero TV, and I'll see you next time.